What's new in Simulx version 2023? Simulx version 2023 includes some big and some small but very useful new features. You can now transfer projects between all applications in one click, map simulated subjects with original ID names directly in the graphical user interface, merge simulations group plots in one chart, create immediately new parameter elements from others, and do more post-processing in the interface, or now also in R. I'm going to show you these features in details on concrete examples. The first big new feature is the improvement of the interconnection between the different softwares of the Simulx Suite version 2023. It is now possible to import and export projects from any software into another. In particular, with the Import From button, you can now also import a pkAnalyx project and reuse the model and estimated individual parameters from a compartmental analysis run. In this video, however, I won't import a project from one of the other Simulx Suite softwares, but open an already prepared Simulx project. We consider the case of a tumor growth model that I have imported from a previous Simulx run. First, we want to see how the tumor size of the patients of the Simulx dataset would evolve after they have completed chemotherapy. To do so, I have selected as parameter the table MLX-EBIS, which contains the individual parameters estimated by Simulx for each individual with their original ID. After running the simulation, we can see that the tumor grows again after a few weeks. In the individual parameter table in the results tab, we see the parameters of the simulated individuals. In Simulx 2023, we can now easily see on which original individuals the simulated individuals are based on. Whenever a table with an ID column is used as input for the simulation, this original ID will also appear in the output tables, both in the graphical user interface and in an exported text file. We now want to simulate a new scenario with several treatment arms and new individuals. I have prepared a project for this. We compare the initial dosing regimen of the first simulation group to two new dosing regimens of the second and the third simulation group. This time I have selected MLX-POP as parameter. From the previous simulation, we know that the tumor size increases again after a few weeks. We want to determine the time at which the tumor starts to grow again. This outcome is called time to progression, or TTP. If patients experience an increase in tumor size of 20% from nadir, so from the minimal value in the simulation, and if patients have an increase of 5 mm of tumor size compared to the minimum value, then we speak of an event called progression of disease. In Simulx 2023, it is now possible to calculate such metric in the post-processing tool outcomes and endpoints. The new options allow us to determine the time interval until a certain criteria is met. Remember, one aspect of the progressive disease definition is if patients experience an increase in tumor size of 20% from nadir, so from the minimal tumor size measure, meaning that we are now looking at the values relative to the minimal value of the simulation up to the current time. As output processing, we choose duration above a value per ID and select the option time of the first occurrence, and we set the value equal 1.2. We name the created outcome variable accordingly. The second part of the disease progression definition was tumor size increases by 5 mm compared to the minimum measured value. The definition of the outcome element works in an analogous way. We wish to have a combination of those two created outcomes. After running the simulation, plus the outcomes and endpoints task, we see the three groups. One of the new features of version 2023 is that it is possible to merge the output or outcome curves of the different treatment arms into one plot. We can see that the new treatment arms, green and blue, perform better than the original treatment arm in black. It is also possible to compare the outcomes on the same plot. Here, for instance, the Kaplan-Meier curves for the time to progression by simply applying the toggle. If you wish to run your simulations in R, we have added new functions in the 2023 version to define outcome and endpoints as well retrieve the results. The same options as in the graphical user interface are available. To give you even more flexibility to post-process your simulations, you can also export your project with only one click directly to PK Analytics to calculate standard NCA parameters on the simulated data. This is also a very nice new feature. Now let's assume that I would like to simulate a typical individual, so without random effects, but taking into account the uncertainty of the population parameters. To do so, I choose the element Simulx typical uncertain. Let me quickly show you how it looks like. Since the new version 2023, this element is now available in Simulx as a parameter option. It enables us to sample population parameters using the variance-covariance matrix of the population parameter estimates calculated by Monolix. What makes this element different from Simulx pop uncertain is that the standard deviation of the random effects are equal 0. It enables to simulate a typical individual with different typical parameter values for each replicate representing the uncertainty of the population parameters. Did you notice the new button here, Create New Indiv? This option creates a new individual parameter element from the fixed effects of the population parameters. There is a button in the individual parameter section that works in an analogous way. Let's go back to the simulation. Here we'll set the group size equal 1. Since I have no inter-individual variability, I set the number of replicates equal 100. After running the replicate of the simulation, I see the tumor size evolution of a typical individual with the width of the prediction interval representing the uncertainty. Here is a recap of all the new features. Enjoy the new version of Simulx and check out our extensive online documentation. Thank you for watching.